All right, news unlock time. We'll start with the rumor that doesn't want to die, and that is the old Xbox 1.5, the mid-cycle upgrade. And this has been brought on in part by the PlayStation 4, allegedly the PlayStation 4K, the 4.5, or
Neo.
the now allegedly codenamed the Neo. The specs have allegedly leaked. Go listen to Beyond. They're going to have a huge discussion about all that. But what I wanted to talk about was something that The Verge followed up on, that they definitely have good sources over there, those guys. They are citing sources that saying that despite, of course, Phil Spencer's recent claim that he said, I'm not a big fan of Xbox 1.5. If we're going to move forward, I want to move forward in big numbers.
Which is why they moved from 360 to 1.
So despite that, The Verge has reached out, or they have confirmed with some sources of theirs, and it is the following. This is quoted straight from The Verge. Sources familiar with Microsoft's Xbox plans have revealed to The Verge that the company has been testing a variety of prototype Xbox devices. Some of the prototypes have been tested with upgraded components you'd use to improve the performance of a PC gaming rig. In other words, things like graphics cards and CPUs. So
one thing I like about console upgrades, being able to swap your hard drive. I wish the Xbox
we can do that
did
now.
I wish the Xbox allowed you to like take the internal one out and put in a new one. That's a feature I really, really like that I wish the Xbox did.
Yeah.
So maybe if they are doing something new, it would be great if like there was more customizability.
I wouldn't
like
think it would be that.
drive.
I don't think it would be a modular situation.
I
no idea.
said this last night on Twitter, but I am not on board with the idea of upgradable consoles. I think it's bad for the consumer, and I think it sets a dangerous precedent that
let's talk about
potentially
this.
could fragment the market. Like,
What is your beef with it? Because I want to hear this so we can talk through it.
okay, so there's a couple of different ways to attack this, but
Yeah.
I think the main thing is that, like, I think that releasing an upgrade of an existing item alienates your most loyal fan base. Like, the people who paid upfront for the PS4 or the Xbox
Right.
One at $500 or $400 are the ones who they're getting the middle finger from the company because they already paid for a console, and now there's another console that plays the same games but better that they're now not getting or have the option to get for a similar price.
So
Like, I think that sucks.
We don't know how it impacts the gameplay though. They wouldn't necessarily play better.
So how is this? So what I want to ask is how it's all going to be about how Sony and potentially Microsoft handle
Marketing.
the sort of politics of it, right? Like, because I think everybody's fear, the reason that Sony's getting some backlash in the community right now, is everybody's afraid, and rightfully so, that even if they say, oh no, of course, everything's going to still be coming to PlayStation 4, that really developers will turn their focus to the added power of Neo, and games will, if they do come out on the regular PlayStation 4, they'll be gimped or crappy versions that run poorly and just aren't that acceptable compared to a game that's just been developed with PS4 or Xbox One in mind.
I understand that, but I feel like at some point, like, what developers are going to strive to do is produce the 4K version or whatever upgraded version there is. Like, when you go to E3 and you produce a vertical slice to sell your game to an audience or get people hyped, you're not going to show the base version that all consoles can play. You're going to show the nice one.
But they already show those vertical slices on highest end PCs.
And it's already misleading. But that's my point, is like,
well,
I think, like, one, consoles, I don't buy the whole, well, we upgrade our PCs the same way, or we upgrade our phones the same way. Like, that type of mentality and expectation is built into the philosophy of PC gaming. When you invest in a PC...
PCs are
Nintendo
so different.
DS
is
the exact same thing. They bring out a new one every single year.
Right, which I also don't think is a good thing.
But
to
compare that to consoles are brought out, like, there was the Xbox 360, and then there was the Slim, and then there was the... I don't know, they have different versions that all still play things the same way, which is kind of what I'm expecting from this console generation.
But I don't think, like, so the Slim, that's the most viable argument, right? Is because it's just a different SKU.
Right. And a Slim is 100% happening.
Right.
I mean, there's no...
And I think that's
I'm
fine.
fine with that.
But, like, here's the thing is, like, so if you take a look at the difference in specs, like the proposed specs for PS4 Neo,
about twice the CPU power and a bump up on the GPU as well.
Totally. So here's the thing. They say it could be used, that extra horsepower could be used to produce a 4K version of the game, right? Which not, like you pointed out earlier, doesn't necessarily impact gameplay, right? But what if the developer decided, you know what, instead of resolution, which would be not that beneficial to our game, we decide to lock a higher frame rate?
And have less sales? Why would they do that?
That's the thing, though, is like if
people
it's better for the game, like let's say if you bought Destiny at 1080-30, it runs at 1080-30.
They can't do that because the developer would have to completely develop the game so that it runs on two different versions of the same hardware.
But that already happens in the PC space.
It does in the PC space. You can't do that on console.
To me, if this is only because I think the key difference between now and in the past, and even so, like the smartphone
it's
thing,
a huge undertaking.
Is like with smartphones, you know, some people that are iPhone people are on the main numbered year, the number upgrade path,
6S.
and then some people are on the S upgrade path, and it's all the same ecosystem. Whatever the newest one is just going to run your apps a little better, maybe a little zippier. It's the same thing here because Phil has already pledged. You know, remember Phil 2 months ago was the first one to come out and say that they would move forward with an evolving platform where everything that comes out now for Xbox One is going to work on future Xbox consoles, whatever form they take. So they're moving away from the hard reset with a new console and moving towards an ecosystem. They want to keep you in that ecosystem. So if an Xbox 1.5 comes out, you might go, forget that. I just bought an Xbox One. I'm not buying a 1.5. Well, then there'll be the 2 with nicer specs in another 4 years.
Xbox One 2.
Maybe you'll buy that. Or maybe
that's a bummer, man.
Or maybe you'll skip that and go, well, I'm going to wait for 2.5. Well, it's 4.5 because it would be the 4th Xbox. But
I don't like the idea of this.
So I don't either.
I think it's set, like I said, sure, it could all work in theory. You bring up a good point. It depends on how the developers treat it and how publishers treat it.
That's
but
really
it sets a dangerous precedent because what if they treat it bad? Imagine being a kid convincing your parents that you need another PS4 because it's
same thing that happens with DS and they still sell like crazy.
Yeah.
But okay, DS is not exactly like, I don't think
they're also cheapo. But
yeah,
I
it's
understand your point, but I don't think devs
much.
are going to do that. Like, you know, last generation people were still bringing out games for the old generation for like the first year of the new generation. Like
Sure.
I think it's on the devs to try and make as much money as they can, knowing that people can't.
Right, and the install base is on the current machines.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So they're going to need to cater to the current machines.
Like developing a game like Destiny that runs on 360 and 1, like that's a huge undertaking. It would be just as difficult, I'm guessing, to develop for Xbox 1.5.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Again, not being a game developer, it's really difficult for me to speculate on what exactly their problems are for it. But if you were looking at Colin's Twitter this morning, our friend Colin Moriarty over at Kind of Funny, he said one of his trusted sources, who's a developer in the industry, says many devs are actually frustrated with this decision. Well, and that it presents a lot of roadblocks for developers.
Yeah. We don't know the full context of that because in a tweet you can't fit like, well, why? Is it because Sony hasn't been clear about what those expectations about the two versions of a game are, or is it, you know, so we don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, like in my head, as someone who, I would feel alienated if I decided, as a huge Microsoft fan and a big like Xbox supporter, if I bought an Xbox and then a year or 2 or 3 or however many years it ends up being, a newer version of the same console exists that plays the games that I have already played better, like knowing that there's a better experience out there that other people can potentially get, but that I have to pay a similar amount again for. That sucks.
See, I keep bringing the parallel back to like the versions of the Xbox. Like the original Xbox didn't have Wi-Fi built in; you had to buy an external thing, and then they had one that built Wi-Fi,
and it was
it's
loud.
Still the same kind of
and
thing. It was really loud.
But those don't affect like the game.
But
that's like features.
But
that's what this could be.
I mean, the Wi-Fi affects the game. It's still an add-on that you have to buy. Like it's still. And the noise does too. Like it's part of the console. Loading times are longer. Like it does. It affects everything. And this is what I'm imagining this is going to parallel.
But you bought your Xbox One on day one, but you've had it and enjoyed it for 3 or 4 years, whatever it is, before this mid-cycle upgrade in theory comes out. So I don't get that. I mean, I don't think you're necessarily getting the short end of the stick when you've been having all the fun that a guy who's sat on the sidelines and is now going to buy the 1.5 jumps in for the same price that you paid 4 years ago and gets. Like, you've gotten your money's worth out of it.
It's so weird.
Or if you haven't, it's on you that you didn't.
They are.
And we upgrade phones all the time.
But phones progress at a much a much higher pace.
Yeah, my phone's 2 years old. It's an iPhone 5. I'm pretty sure it's 2 years old. And I can't get the fastest internet speed. Like, I pretty much can't connect to internet anywhere in San Francisco because the carrier that...
Just think about this.
Carriers don't provide how old my phone is.
Right.
Like, the first iPhone, the very first iPhone, came out 10 years ago. Like, just 10 years ago.
Oh,
not
so
even.
weird.
Like, not
it was
even.
07.
Yeah, it's 2000.
It was 9 years ago.
Yeah, announced in 07, like, released in 08. So less even than a decade.
Yeah.
And
Man.
to think of that, how unusable that first generation phone is, to draw a console parallel, in 2006, I was playing 360, and I still play. My 360 still works. I still have games on it. Like, it works perfectly fine. It's still usable. Like, I don't think that, this is how tech works nowadays. Look at phones, look at computers, look at all this other stuff, look at tablets. Because those upgrade regularly, I don't think that that's a reason to make console upgrades happen regularly either. Like, again, I think it just sets a dangerous precedent.
Yeah, I totally like what he's saying. I feel like we don't have enough information about what exactly the upgrades are.
Yeah, like Ryan brings up a good point. It depends on how it's treated. Like, if it's treated really, really well and doesn't fragment the market, then sure. But
if... I think it's on Sony, and in this case, we're talking about Microsoft. If a 1.5 kind of situation, even though Phil won't call it that, but if an upgrade does happen, it's on Microsoft to say, okay, well, for all you early adopters, for anybody that's got an Xbox now, we're going to give you $150 off the new one.
Yeah, so that was the other thing, is we talked briefly about it off camera, but there's a company that manufactures high-end digital cinema cameras called Red.
Yes, this was a good analogy.
These cameras are $50,000, $60,000 cameras, so people who buy them, they're professionals. They use them really, really,
frequently.
Yeah, frequently, and put a lot of work onto them. And with an investment that huge, one would say, like, well, what happens when it becomes eventually obsolete with new camera tech, right? Well, Red offers those people a path. It's called an upgrade path, where at a subsidized price, you can upgrade the tech in the camera to whatever the new tech is at far less the cost than what it would be just to, like, buy it outright.
I mean, we kind of have that from our retailers. You could trade in and trade your old console in, then they usually have a deal where you can get the new one a lot cheaper.
Except that...
Yeah, but with the way the market shifted, where everybody buys everything on Amazon...
No, but I mean, like, I would love to see an official PlayStation or Microsoft trade-in, so that
I agree. Because
still.
When you're doing that with a retailer...
It's up to the retailer.
Well, it's also the retailer is just... That's benefiting the retailer, not you.
Yeah.
Whereas...
Or the company, even. Like Microsoft or whoever,
Yeah.
Like, they can't quality control it as well as they would be able to if they controlled it themselves. That's all.
Yeah. So we'll see.
I'm just wary. Like, I worry for consumers. That's all. Like, I don't know if it's good for consumers. Obviously, it's in the best interest of Microsoft and Sony to try and lay an early claim to 4K gaming in the console market. That's a no-brainer, right? But I don't know. Like, I don't think that that's a good thing if it comes at the cost of alienating your most loyal fans. That's all.
Totally agree.
Yeah,
And it's on Microsoft and potentially Sony to not alienate those people. And if they could just as easily, it's really going to be an interesting experiment, I think, one way or the other.